So, what was the social background in which all these changes were taking place?
Some very important structural changes were taking place in particularly the South Indian society. As you are familiar, that in the just earlier part, maybe the dating is a problem, but possibly in the first part, first or second century of the Christian era, there, according to the Sangam texts, there were several bigger kings, Vampavendan, and there were some smaller kings, Kurunila Mannar, and they were fighting among each other, fiercely competitive. Now, in this situation, suddenly we find coming of a strange people. It has not much reference. It is just said that they were the Kalabhras, some Kalabha in Prakrit, and one Achyuta Vikanta has been named, who was a great devotee of Buddhism, or he was patronizing the Buddhists. And all the major kingdoms, the Cholas, Pandyans, and the Cheras, they have disappeared, vanished in thin air. And the whole of the peninsula, or the southern part, that is the present Tamil country, and maybe some parts of the Kerala, it was dominated by these Kalabhras. And in this period, possibly, we have some of the greatest epics like Silapadigaram, Manimegalai. Now, in this background, we find suddenly the Vaishnavite Alvars and the Shaivite Nayanars, they are coming up with their stone melting songs. Now, how to look at this bhakti movement? Because it is a very important movement which shaped the future of some important religious cults. There we find historians debating among themselves about the real import of, the real significance of this movement. Some say that it was a kind of social protest, generally the idea that we are familiar with. But now, with the analysis of the participants from the hagiographies, we find that many of these proponents, both in the Shaivite sect or in the Vaishnavite sect, belonged to the Brahmin caste. The others, a large portion, they were the largest agricultural castes, the Vellalas. Now, in the hagiography, framed much later in the 12th century, Periya Puranam, Chekkalar, he is telling the story of 63 Shaivite saints. Out of these 63, only 7 they have composed poems, songs. Among the 12 Vaishnavite Alvars, barring the first 3, the rest 9, out of them we find that there were several Brahmins, there were some kings, and 1 or 2 from the downtrodden caste. So, it is difficult to portray them just as a protest movement, but obviously it had a very strong messianic appeal. Obviously it had, because what they were trying to do was to say that if you are sacrificing yourself at the altar of God, then those people who have sacrificed themselves, within that community, there is no caste barrier. Tondar Adipodi, dust of the feet of a Tondan. Tondan is the follower of God, servant of the servant. All these things means that if you follow a particular path, if you are sacrificing yourself to a particular God, then within that very limited community, there is no caste barrier. So this might have attracted the common people to flock towards these theistic sects.